Chosen one, there is a battle happening within you, one that you may not even fully recognize the struggle to stop striving. In a world that constantly encourages you to achieve, to prove your worth, to do more, be more, and become more, you may have unknowingly adopted a mindset that says, I must always be moving, always working, always accomplishing. You may have come to believe that your value is tied to your productivity, that your success is determined by how much you can accomplish in a given day, week, or year. But here's the truth: this constant striving, this unrelenting pursuit of more, is keeping you from the peace that God has already made available to you. The world around you reinforces this idea, chosen one. You are told to hustle, to push yourself harder, to never stop moving. But in all this doing, you are missing the invitation that God is offering you. God is calling you to stop striving and instead embrace the rest He has for you. He is inviting you to cease from your endless work and simply be in His presence. He doesn't require your effort to love you or accept you. He has already done that. And yet we often feel the need to perform, to earn our worth through action. And this need to strive keeps us on a treadmill of endless activity. But God is not asking you to prove yourself through your efforts. His love is not earned by the work you do. His love is freely given without condition, and He longs for you to rest in that love. To stop striving is not to stop caring or to abandon responsibility. It is to surrender the need to do everything on your own and allow God's peace to fill the gaps. It is to trust that God is in control and that His plan for your life is already set. Striving can be exhausting both physically and spiritually. It drains your energy and leaves you feeling empty, disconnected, and unfulfilled. You may think that by doing more, you are moving closer to your goals. But in reality, all you are doing is moving further from the peace that God wants to give you. Imagine for a moment, chosen one, what it would feel like to lay down the weight of all that striving. What would it feel like to release the pressure to constantly perform and allow yourself to simply rest in God's presence? This is the life God is calling you to, a life not defined by what you do, but by who you are in Him. In the stillness, you will find that your value is not found in your work, your achievements, or your accomplishments, but in the love of God. His love is enough, and He is enough for you. Now I invite you to take a deep breath, chosen one. Feel the tension in your body begin to release as you inhale deeply and exhale slowly. This is the beginning of surrendering your need to strive. God is not asking you to do anything more than to rest in His love and trust His timing. He is asking you to stop striving and to start being still. When you stop striving, you make room for God's peace to enter your heart. You allow Him to work in ways that you cannot, and in doing so, you experience the freedom that only He can provide. But I know this is not easy. You may be wondering, how can I stop striving when the world demands so much of me? How can I rest when there is always more to be done? This is the struggle, chosen one. It is the tension between the world's demands and the peaceful surrender that God calls you to. It is the choice to trust God's timing and to believe that His plan for you is unfolding in the perfect way, even when it feels like you should be doing more. And that chosen one is where the breakthrough happens, when you realize that you do not have to carry the burden of the world alone. God is with you, and He will carry the weight for you. The first step in surrendering your need to strive is to recognize the lie that tells you that your worth is tied to your accomplishments. You are valuable because you are God's creation, not because of the things you do. Your value is intrinsic, chosen one, and no amount of striving or achieving can increase it. The second step is to make space for rest. This may mean physically resting, taking time to slow down to sleep, to recharge, but it also means resting in your heart. It means choosing to release your grip on the need for control and trusting that God is already working in your life. In resting, you acknowledge that you cannot do it all on your own, and you place your trust in God's perfect provision. Let me share with you, chosen one, how to practically step into this rest. It begins with stillness. You must carve out time each day to be quiet and present before God. This is not a time for praying lists or working through tasks. This is a time to simply be in His presence, to listen, to receive His peace, and to rest. It may feel uncomfortable at first. It may feel like your mind is racing or that the world is pulling you in 1,000 directions. But the more you practice stillness, the more you will experience the rest that God has for you. In those moments of quiet, allow God to speak to you. You might not hear a loud voice or receive a clear answer to every question. But in the stillness, God will meet you with His love, His peace, and His presence. And in that presence, you will find the courage to surrender, the courage to rest, and the courage to stop striving. Surrendering your need to strive is not about being passive. It's about choosing to trust in God's perfect plan for your life. It's about recognizing that He is in control and that the peace you seek comes not from doing more, but from resting in Him. The more you embrace this rest as worship, the more you will experience the divine peace that only God can give. It's not a peace that the world can offer. It's a peace that comes from knowing that you are loved, that you are enough, and that God's plan for you is already unfolding in His perfect timing. So, chosen one, I invite you to lay down your striving today. Surrender the need to prove yourself and embrace the peace that comes from resting in God's love. Trust in His timing, trust in His provision, and know that in His perfect rest, you will find the strength to live with purpose, peace, and divine fulfillment. Chosen one, as you begin to understand the need to surrender your striving and embrace rest, you might be facing a challenge that is deeply ingrained within you. The world tells you that to be valuable, to be worthy, you must be constantly achieving, constantly moving, constantly producing. This pressure to perform can feel like an invisible weight pressing down on your spirit, demanding that you always do more, be more, and achieve more. It's easy to get caught in the cycle of striving, thinking that your worth is measured by your output or your achievements. But here, this rest is not laziness. Rest is not an absence of effort. It is a sacred surrender, a recognition that your worth does not lie in what you can do, but in who you are in God's eyes. You may feel an inner tension, chosen one. On one hand, you long for peace, for rest, for the freedom that comes from letting go. But on the other hand, you fear that surrendering your need to strive means you will fall behind, that you will lose opportunities, or that your life will lack meaning if you aren't constantly moving forward. This is the lie that the world feeds you, that you are only as valuable as your productivity. But God's kingdom operates differently. In His kingdom, your value is not based on your activity or your accomplishments. It is rooted in your identity as His beloved child. When you rest in that truth, you can finally let go of the endless pressure to perform. The spiritual challenge in embracing rest is trust. Trusting that God's plan for your life is unfolding in His perfect timing, even when you don't feel the urgency to rush. Trusting that His pace is the right pace, even when the world around you tells you to hustle. Trusting that you don't have to earn His love or prove your worth. His love is already yours. God is calling you to rest in that love, to trust in His goodness, and to surrender your need to strive for approval, success, or recognition. It's a radical shift in perspective, but it's one that leads you to divine peace. Trust, chosen one, is the key to embracing rest. It is the foundation upon which your ability to surrender and experience God's peace is built. Trust that God sees you, truly sees you, and that He has a divine purpose for your life that is not dependent on your ability to work harder or do more. Trust that He is guiding you and that His timing is perfect. You don't need to rush. You don't need to force things to happen. Rest in the knowledge that God is in control and that He is working all things together for your good. This trust is a challenge because you've been conditioned to rely on your own efforts. You've been taught to believe that you must do it all yourself, that if you don't take control, things won't get done. But God's invitation to rest is an invitation to let go of that control. It's an invitation to stop trying to manipulate every circumstance, to stop worrying about the outcome, and to trust that He is already at work. It's not that you do nothing, it's that you do everything with the understanding that God is in charge. You partner with Him in the work He's called you to, but you do so from a place of peace and trust, not from a place of anxiety or striving. It's important to note that surrendering your need to strive doesn't mean abandoning your responsibilities. It doesn't mean being passive or disengaged from the world around you. Instead, it means approaching everything you do with a heart that is at peace, knowing that God is with you and trusting that His timing will lead you where you need to go. When you stop striving, you create space for God to move. You allow His will to unfold without forcing it, and you give Him the opportunity to work miracles in your life in His perfect timing. One of the most profound ways to embrace this rest as worship is by intentionally setting aside time each day to pause. This is not just about taking a break from work or activities. It's about giving God space to speak to you. In the quiet moments of stillness, you create an opportunity for His peace to enter your heart. These moments of rest become acts of worship as you surrender your need to control the world around you and allow God to fill you with His peace and presence. During these moments of pause, you might reflect on God's faithfulness in your life. You might meditate on His word, allowing it to refresh your soul. You might simply sit in His presence without expectation and allow the stillness to deepen your connection with Him. These moments of surrender become sacred, chosen one, as you trust in God's ability to lead you. You begin to understand that rest is not a passive act. It is an act of active trust and offering of your heart to God, saying, I trust you, Lord, with everything. I will rest in your love and your plan. You might also experience a growing sense of inner peace as you embrace this rest. The constant pressure to perform to keep up with the pace of the world will begin to fade. In its place, you will feel a deeper sense of contentment, knowing that you are living in alignment with God's will. This peace comes not from the absence of work, but from the assurance that God is present in all that you do. No longer will you be driven by the need to prove yourself or by the fear of falling behind. Instead, you will find that as you rest in God's presence, He equips you to do the work He has called you to do with greater clarity and purpose. And so, chosen one, it is time to embrace rest as worship. Surrender your need to strive and allow God to fill your heart with His peace. Trust that in His perfect timing, He is working all things together for your good. Trust that you are exactly where you need to be and that God is leading you every step of the way. As you embrace rest, you will experience the divine peace that can only come from trusting God fully. You will discover that in surrendering your need to strive, you gain everything that truly matters. A deeper relationship with God, a heart full of peace, and the joy of walking in His divine will. So let go of the need to control, chosen one. Let go of the pressure to achieve and rest in God's love and His perfect plan for your life. In doing so, you will experience a peace that surpasses all understanding, a peace that will guide you, sustain you, and transform you. Chosen one, as you begin to embrace rest as worship and surrender your need to strive, you may find yourself in a deeper understanding of what true peace really is. It is one thing to long for peace, to wish for a quiet mind and a peaceful heart, but it is another thing entirely to experience it in the depths of your soul. True peace is not just the absence of noise or the stillness of your environment. It is the active presence of God in your life, filling you with a deep sense of trust and security that transcends every circumstance. It is in this divine peace that you find the freedom to stop striving and to simply rest in the assurance that God is in control. The peace you seek, chosen one, is not something that can be achieved by your own efforts. It is a gift from God, something He offers to those who are willing to lay down their need to control their fear of the future and their anxiety about their worth. It is in the quiet moments of surrender, when you release your worries and trust God fully, that His peace floods your soul. The challenge, however, is to recognize that this peace is available to you at all times, even when the world around you is in chaos, even when the pressures of life seem overwhelming. God's peace, chosen one, is not a temporary respite from your problems. It is a lasting peace that remains even in the midst of trial, hardship, and uncertainty. It is a peace that surpasses all understanding, a peace that guards your heart and mind, and a peace that fills you with the assurance that God is with you in every circumstance. When you surrender to God's peace, you stop fighting for control, you cease striving, and allow Him to carry the weight of your burdens. This peace is a powerful force that shields you from fear, anxiety, and stress. It is a supernatural peace that brings rest to your soul and trust in God's provision. Imagine for a moment, chosen one, what it would feel like to live your life from this place of divine peace. Imagine what it would be like to walk through each day knowing that God is guiding your steps, that His love is covering you, and that His timing is perfect. You would no longer feel the need to rush or force things to happen. You would no longer be driven by the fear of falling behind or the anxiety that comes from trying to control everything around you. Instead, you would live in a state of trust, knowing that God is in control of your life and that His plan for you is unfolding in the perfect way. To live in divine peace, chosen one, requires a deep surrender. You must let go of the need to hold on tightly to your plans, your expectations, and your desires. You must trust that God knows what is best for you, even when you can't see the way forward. When you rest in His peace, you stop striving to make things happen on your own. You let go of the weight of trying to control the outcome and simply allow God to work in His perfect timing. In doing so, you open the door to a deeper level of peace and trust in God's will for your life. This peace is also found in the practice of being present. In a world that constantly pulls your attention in 100 different directions, it can be easy to become distracted, anxious, or overwhelmed. But the practice of being present, of taking each moment as it comes, of focusing on what is in front of you right now, can bring you back to the peace of God. When you are fully present in the moment, free from distractions and worries about the future, you open yourself up to God's presence. You are able to rest in His peace, knowing that He is with you in every situation and that His grace is sufficient for whatever comes your way. When you choose to be present, you are also choosing to trust God with the future. Instead of being consumed by worry or anxiety about what's to come, you focus on living fully in the now, trusting that God will take care of tomorrow. This doesn't mean you ignore your responsibilities or neglect to plan for the future. It means that you trust that God is already ahead of you, guiding your steps and preparing the way. His peace frees you from the burden of trying to control everything and allows you to live each moment with faith, joy, and rest. You may find, chosen one, that there are days when the pull of the world's demands is stronger than your ability to rest in God's peace. There may be times when you feel overwhelmed by stress, by expectations, or by the relentless need to accomplish. In these moments, it is especially important to turn to God for His peace. Take a deep breath, quiet your heart, and surrender your worries to Him. Remember, His peace is not something you can earn or achieve on your own. It is a gift freely given and available to you at any moment. All you need to do is receive it. One of the most powerful ways to receive this peace is through prayer. Prayer is not just a way to ask God for things. It is a way to align your heart with His. It is a way to express your trust in Him and to surrender your worries, fears, and anxieties to His care. In prayer, you invite God's peace into your life, and you create a space for Him to fill you with His presence. When you pray, you remind yourself that you are not alone, that God is with you, and that He is in control. As you surrender to Him, His peace will wash over you, bringing calm to your heart and clarity to your mind. Rest, chosen one, is not just about physical sleep. It is about surrendering your mind and spirit to God's peace. It is about trusting that you are enough, that God's plan for your life is perfect, and that you do not have to strive to earn His love or His approval. In this rest, you find the strength to continue, the clarity to move forward, and the peace that surpasses all understanding. This peace will guide you through every circumstance, every decision, and every moment of your life. So chosen one, let go of the need to strive. Rest in the assurance that God is with you, that He is guiding your steps, and that His peace is available to you. Surrender your need for control and allow His peace to fill you. Trust that He is working in your life and that His timing is perfect. As you embrace this divine peace, you will experience the rest that comes from knowing you are loved, you are enough, and you are exactly where you need to be in God's plan. Chosen one, as you continue to embrace rest and surrender the need to strive, you will begin to experience the deeper spiritual benefits that come with living in alignment with God's divine peace. Rest is not just about physical renewal, it is about spiritual renewal. When you stop striving and allow yourself to rest in God's presence, you are opening the door to a deeper relationship with Him, a deeper understanding of His love, and a greater awareness of His guidance in your life. This rest becomes a form of worship, an offering of your heart, a surrender of your will, and a declaration of trust in God's perfect plan for your life. The act of resting is not just a passive activity, it is an active choice to yield to God's timing and trust that His plan is unfolding in the perfect way, even when you cannot see the full picture. In a world that values constant action and productivity, it may seem counterintuitive to pause, to slow down, and to simply be still. But chosen one, it is in these moments of stillness that God can speak to you most clearly. It is in these moments of rest that you make room for Him to work in your heart, to heal your wounds, and to refresh your spirit. There is a profound spiritual transformation that happens when you choose to rest in God. Rest is a surrender of control, an act of faith that says, I trust you, God, more than I trust my own efforts. When you let go of the need to constantly perform, when you stop trying to prove yourself or striving to achieve, you allow God to work in and through you in ways that you cannot fully comprehend. Rest opens up space for God to move in your life. It gives you the clarity to hear His voice and the peace to follow His direction. However, I understand, chosen one, that resting in God's peace is not always easy. You may struggle with feelings of guilt or inadequacy, wondering if resting means you're not doing enough, or if you're not living up to the expectations placed upon you by others or by yourself. But the truth is, rest is an act of obedience. It is not a sign of weakness, laziness, or lack of commitment. It is a sign of strength, trust, and surrender. God does not need you to do everything. He calls you to trust in His timing, to yield to His will, and to rest in His love. When you rest, you are acknowledging that God is sovereign over your life and that He is in control. You are letting go of the illusion of control, and you are trusting that He knows what is best for you. This act of surrender is powerful, chosen one. It is in this surrender that you discover true peace, the kind of peace that does not come from your circumstances, but from the assurance that God is in control and that His plan for your life is unfolding in the perfect way. Resting in God's peace also allows you to experience the fullness of His presence. When you stop striving, when you let go of the pressure to perform or to measure up, you make space for God to fill you with His love and grace. You are able to receive more fully from Him, and in receiving, you are empowered to give to others. This is the beauty of divine rest. It doesn't just replenish you physically, it restores your soul, strengthens your spirit, and equips you to live with greater purpose, joy, and compassion. In the act of resting, you also invite God to heal the places in your heart that need restoration. Striving often comes from a place of woundedness, a desire to prove yourself, to earn love or acceptance, or to fill a deep longing for validation. But when you rest in God's presence, He meets you where you are. He heals the wounds that have caused you to strive, and He fills you with His peace and acceptance. In these moments of stillness, you experience God's love in its purest form, not because of what you do, but simply because of who you are in Him. You are His beloved child, and His love for you is unconditional and eternal. As you learn to rest in God's peace, you will begin to see how He is at work in the quiet moments, in the times when you think nothing is happening. The world often values productivity and outward success, but God values the quiet, humble acts of surrender. In the stillness, He does His most transformative work. When you rest in Him, you allow Him to guide your steps, to shape your character, and to refine your heart. You will find that your life begins to align more with His will, that your decisions become more attuned to His voice, and that your heart becomes more sensitive to His leading. This peace is not a peace that comes from achieving or accomplishing. It is a peace that comes from knowing that God is already working in you, that He has already accomplished everything you need, and that His grace is sufficient for all things. It is a peace that comes from trusting in God's sovereignty, and it allows you to live with a sense of security even when life feels uncertain. As you rest in God's peace, I encourage you to continue to let go of the need to strive. Release the burden of trying to prove yourself, trying to earn God's love, or trying to meet the expectations of others. Instead, surrender it all to God. Trust in His perfect timing. Know that He is working in your life even when you don't see the results immediately. In this surrender, you will find the peace that surpasses all understanding. You will experience the freedom that comes from knowing that God is in control and that His plan for you is good. Remember, chosen one, that rest is not a passive act. It is a choice to trust, to surrender, and to embrace the peace that God offers. As you continue to rest in His presence, you will find that the burdens of striving, anxiety, and fear begin to fade. You will be filled with the peace of God, and you will experience the life of abundance, purpose, and fulfillment that He has promised to you. So take a deep breath, chosen one. Release the pressure to perform. Rest in God's love and trust that He is working all things together for your good. You do not have to strive for His approval. You are already approved, already loved, and already accepted. In this rest, you will find the peace and fulfillment you have been seeking. Chosen one, as you continue on this journey of surrendering the need to strive and embracing the peace that only God can give you, may start to notice something wonderful happening within you, a shift in your perspective. The more you embrace rest as worship, the more you begin to see that peace isn't just a passive experience. It is a transformative force in your life. The act of resting, of choosing to surrender your need to control, allows you to align with God's divine rhythm for your life. When you let go of the noise and demands of the world, you make room for His voice, His guidance, and His purpose. This is where true transformation begins. The challenge, however, is that we often want results immediately. We live in a culture that celebrates fast-paced living, quick fixes, and instant gratification. But God's peace doesn't work on our timeline. It's not something that can be rushed. The process of embracing God's peace and allowing it to transform your life takes time. It's a lifelong journey. And in that journey, you will face moments of doubt, moments when you feel impatient, and moments when you question whether resting truly makes a difference. But in those moments, I urge you to remember this truth. Rest is a radical act of trust. Trusting God's timing means allowing Him to work in His way and in His time. It means surrendering the need to see immediate results and choosing to believe that He is doing something deep within you that you cannot always see. Even when it feels like nothing is happening, God is working in ways you may not even fully understand. Trusting in His process means knowing that He is shaping you, preparing you for what is ahead, and aligning your life with His divine purpose. The more you trust in His timing, the more you will begin to see the fruits of your rest. As you stop striving and embrace God's peace, you will find that He opens doors in His perfect time. You will begin to walk in alignment with His will, and the peace you experience will become the foundation for everything you do. You won't feel the need to rush to force things to happen. Instead, you will move forward with a quiet confidence, knowing that God's timing is always right. This is where true peace comes from, trusting in God's process and knowing that He is in control. It's also important, chosen one, to understand that peace does not mean the absence of challenges. Resting in God's peace doesn't mean that life will be free from difficulties or struggles. On the contrary, as you choose to rest, you may face moments of discomfort, moments when your desire to strive feels overwhelming. But in those moments, remember that peace is not the absence of challenges. It's the presence of God in the midst of them. When you rest in God's peace, you are not ignoring the difficulties of life. You are choosing to trust in God's ability to lead you through them. In those moments of struggle, you will find that the peace God offers is not dependent on your circumstances. It's not about everything going perfectly or things falling into place exactly as you've planned. It's about knowing that no matter what happens, God is with you. His peace transcends the world's understanding. It gives you strength, courage, and clarity, even when the path ahead seems unclear. When you embrace God's peace, you open yourself to His presence, and His presence is what sustains you through every storm. Resting in God's peace also means learning to trust that He is enough. So often we look outside of ourselves, believing that we need more to feel complete. We chase after achievements, validation, and external success, thinking that these things will fill the emptiness within us. But true fulfillment comes when we recognize that God is enough for us. When we rest in His peace, we stop looking to the world for our worth, and we begin to recognize that our worth is found in Him alone. This truth frees you, chosen one, from the endless cycle of striving and chasing after things that will never truly satisfy. God's peace is a deep and abiding peace that comes from understanding that you are enough just as you are. You don't need to prove yourself or earn His love. You are loved beyond measure, and in that love you find everything you need. The more you embrace this truth, the more peace you will experience. You will no longer feel the pressure to constantly do more or to chase after the next achievement. Instead, you will rest in the assurance that God's love is sufficient and that His purpose for your life is unfolding exactly as it should. And as you rest in God's peace, you will begin to see how it overflows into every area of your life. Your relationships will be transformed as you approach them with a heart of peace, no longer driven by the need to prove or achieve. You will learn to listen more deeply, to speak with kindness and understanding, and to love without expectation. Your work will take on a new purpose, not as something to achieve or perform, but as an opportunity to serve God and others with a heart at rest. Every area of your life will begin to reflect the peace you have found in God's presence. As you continue to embrace rest and surrender the need to strive, I encourage you to make rest a daily practice. This is not something you can only do once or twice. To truly experience the transformative power of God's peace, you must make time each day to pause and rest in His presence. This could be in moments of quiet prayer, meditation on His Word, or simply sitting in stillness, allowing God's peace to fill you. In those moments, let go of your worries, your pressures, and your need to control. Trust that God is with you and that His peace will guide you through every challenge, every decision, and every step of your journey. Rest, chosen one, is a gift that God offers you. It is not a burden or a sign of weakness. It is a divine invitation to trust, to surrender, and to embrace the peace that He freely gives. When you rest in His presence, you open yourself to the fullness of His love and His purpose for your life. You release the weight of striving and find freedom in God's peace. And in that freedom, you will discover the true joy and fulfillment that come from living a life aligned with God's will. So let go of the need to strive, chosen one. Embrace rest as an act of worship, a surrender of your heart to God's perfect timing. Trust that He is in control and that His peace will guide you every step of the way. As you rest in His presence, you will find the strength, clarity, and peace you need to live the life God has created for you. Chosen one, as you continue to surrender your need to strive and embrace divine rest, you may begin to recognize something beautiful and life-changing. God's peace is not simply a temporary escape from the stress of life, but a transformative presence that alters your entire way of living. When you rest in His peace, you stop seeing life through the lens of exhaustion and pressure, and instead you begin to see life as an opportunity to align yourself with God's rhythm. In this divine rhythm, there is no need to rush, no need to fight against the flow of time, because you understand that God is in control and His timing is perfect. This peace isn't just for moments of quiet or seasons of rest. It's meant to be carried with you, transforming how you navigate every aspect of life. One of the most profound benefits of embracing God's peace is that it teaches you how to live in the present moment. So often we are caught up in the past, regretting decisions or mistakes, or we're consumed with worry about the future, trying to anticipate what will happen next. But in the stillness of God's peace, you are invited to be present, truly present. Not distracted, not anxious, but fully engaged in the here and now. When you practice resting in God's presence, you begin to see the world differently. You notice the beauty around you, you hear God's voice more clearly, and you feel His peace permeating every moment. Living in the present is powerful because it allows you to experience life fully without the burden of anxiety or the weight of past mistakes. This doesn't mean that the past doesn't matter or that the future isn't important, but rather that you have the freedom to release the hold that time has on you. The pressures of the past and the worries of the future can easily weigh you down, but when you rest in God's peace, you are freed from the need to control either of them. You can trust God with your past, knowing that He is healing the wounds, and you can trust Him with your future, knowing that His plans are good. This shift in perspective allows you to step into a more peaceful, purposeful life. It's not about ignoring responsibilities or neglecting to plan. It's about finding the balance between doing what needs to be done and trusting that God is with you in every moment. In this divine rhythm, there is space for you to work, to engage, and to serve, but there is also space for rest, for reflection, and for connection with God. The two are not mutually exclusive. In fact, they complement each other perfectly. It is in the rest that you find the strength to work. It is in the peace that you find the clarity to act. You may also find that the more you embrace this rest, the more you begin to understand that God's peace doesn't just calm your mind, it restores your soul. It is a soul-deep peace that heals the wounds you've accumulated over the years. When you live in a constant state of striving, you accumulate stress, emotional baggage, and spiritual exhaustion. You may feel disconnected from God, distant from others, and unfulfilled, as though there's a constant void that you are trying to fill with accomplishments or achievements. But when you surrender your need to strive, when you rest in God's peace, He begins to restore your soul. He renews your strength, He heals your emotional wounds, and He fills you with the joy and fulfillment that come from knowing you are loved and enough in His eyes. This restoration is not just about physical rest, it is a deep spiritual renewal. When you surrender to God's peace, He helps you let go of the false belief that you have to earn His love or approval. You begin to rest in the truth that His love for you is unconditional. You do not have to prove your worth by your works or by your striving. You are loved because you are His child, and that truth is enough to bring deep peace into your life. The peace that God offers is also a peace that guards your heart and mind. In a world filled with noise, distraction, and chaos, it's easy to become overwhelmed and anxious. But when you rest in God's peace, you create a sanctuary for your heart. The peace that He gives acts as a guard, protecting your mind from worry and fear. It's a peace that calms the storms inside of you, even when the external circumstances may still be difficult. It is a peace that allows you to face challenges with grace, knowing that God is with you and that He will provide everything you need. As you continue to rest in God's peace, you will also discover that this peace gives you the courage to face your fears and uncertainties. Striving often comes from a place of fear, the fear of not being enough, the fear of failure, the fear of missing out. But when you rest in God's peace, you no longer live in fear. You are free to take risks, to make decisions, and to step out in faith, knowing that God is leading you. You do not have to be afraid of the unknown because you know that God holds your future. His peace calms your fears, enabling you to live with courage, confidence, and hope. One of the most beautiful things about God's peace, chosen one, is that it is always available to you. You don't have to wait for the perfect circumstances to experience it. God's peace is not dependent on your external environment. It is a gift that comes from His presence. Whenever you feel the weight of striving creep back in, whenever you feel the tension of the world pressing against you, you can return to God's peace. You can take a deep breath and remember that He is in control, that He is guiding you, and that His love will never fail you. Rest is not a one-time event, chosen one. It is a continual practice, a choice you make every day to surrender your need to strive and to embrace the peace that God offers. It is in this ongoing surrender that you experience the fullness of life that God has planned for you. The more you rest in Him, the more you experience His peace, and the more you begin to see the world through His eyes, through the eyes of love, grace, and compassion. So I encourage you, chosen one, to make this practice of rest a daily part of your life. Let it become your worship, your offering to God, and your way of living in alignment with His will. Embrace the peace that He gives, knowing that it is a gift that will transform your heart, restore your soul, and guide you through every season of life. As you rest in His presence, you will find that you are not only more at peace with yourself, but with the world around you. Chosen one, as you continue to rest in God's peace and surrender the need to strive, you will notice something beautiful happening. Your life will begin to reflect the divine rhythm of God's will. As you move away from the relentless pursuit of success and achievement, you will step into a deeper awareness of God's presence in every moment. You will begin to see the world differently, not through the lens of anxiety or fear, but through the eyes of peace, trust, and love. Resting in God's peace is not just about taking a break from the chaos of life. It is about aligning your heart with God's divine rhythm and allowing His peace to guide you through every circumstance. This transformation is profound, chosen one. When you live from a place of rest, you are able to experience life more fully. You stop rushing, stop trying to control everything, and instead you allow God to lead you. You begin to live with greater intention, with more purpose, and with more joy. This shift happens when you surrender the idea that you have to do everything yourself and trust that God is guiding your every step. Rest becomes an invitation to live intentionally, to listen more closely to God's voice, and to act with a heart that is aligned with His will. One of the most significant benefits of embracing rest is that it allows you to truly hear God. In the stillness, God speaks most clearly. When you stop striving and create space for silence, you make room for God's voice to fill the silence. The world is filled with distractions, endless noise demands, and obligations that pull your attention in 1,000 directions. But when you choose rest, you quiet those distractions. You silence the noise of the world and open your heart to God's guidance. It is in these moments of stillness that you hear God's voice most clearly, and His peace becomes the anchor that keeps you grounded. But how do you embrace stillness in the midst of a busy life? How do you create space for God's peace when the demands of life are constantly pulling at you? The answer lies in your intentionality. You must choose to prioritize rest. It doesn't just happen on its own. You must intentionally carve out time each day to be still, to pause, and to rest in God's presence. This might mean setting aside time for quiet prayer, meditation, or simply sitting in silence, allowing God to speak to your heart. When you make rest a priority, you make room for God to work in your life in powerful ways. This stillness, this intentional pause, is where God's peace begins to transform your heart. As you sit in His presence, you release the need to strive, to prove, and to perform. You surrender the weight of the world's demands and place it into His hands. And in that surrender, you are filled with the peace that only He can give. It's not a peace that comes from your circumstances or from the things you can control. It's a peace that comes from God's presence, a peace that fills you regardless of what is happening around you. You may find, chosen one, that in these moments of stillness, you begin to gain clarity about your life's direction. When you stop rushing and making decisions based on your own timeline, you open yourself to God's perfect timing. The noise and confusion begin to fade, and you begin to hear the gentle whispers of God's voice leading you. This clarity doesn't come from striving, but from trusting God's wisdom and His plan for you. As you rest in His peace, you will begin to see the path ahead more clearly. You will feel His guidance in every step you take, and you will be empowered to make decisions that are aligned with His will. Resting in God's peace is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice, a continual choice to surrender your need to control and to trust in God's timing. Each time you choose to rest, you allow yourself to be filled with His peace again and again. And with each passing day, you will find that His peace becomes a constant companion, guiding you through life's challenges, joys, and uncertainties. But there's another profound aspect to this peace, chosen one. Resting in God's peace allows you to live with greater compassion. When you stop striving to meet your own needs, you open your heart to meet the needs of others. Rest doesn't just benefit you, it empowers you to be more present, more loving, and more compassionate in the world. When you are at peace within yourself, you are able to offer that peace to others. You are able to love freely, to give generously, and to serve without the pressure of feeling that you must always perform or achieve. You may notice, chosen one, that the more you rest in God's peace, the more your heart opens to the needs of those around you. You stop being so consumed with your own striving, your own worries, and your own goals, and you begin to see others with the eyes of Christ. You see their struggles, their pain, and their needs, and you respond with love and compassion. Rest frees you from the trap of self-centeredness and allows you to live with a heart that is fully attuned to the needs of the world around you. In the practice of rest, you begin to realize that it is not just about taking time off from work or responsibilities. It is about living a life that is fully aligned with God's heart. Resting in God's peace allows you to love others as He loves you. It opens your heart to see the world through His eyes, and it empowers you to serve with His strength and His grace. So, chosen one, I invite you to embrace rest as a daily act of worship. Surrender your need to strive and choose to trust in God's perfect timing. Let go of the weight of the world's demands and allow God's peace to fill you. As you do, you will discover a life that is not defined by your performance, but by your relationship with God. You will experience a deep sense of peace, joy, and fulfillment that comes from living in alignment with His divine will. And as you rest in His peace, you will become a vessel of His love, radiating His grace and compassion to a world in need. Chosen one, as we come to the final section of this transformative journey, it's time to reflect on the incredible power and peace that come from surrendering your need to strive and embracing divine rest. Throughout this process, you've learned that true peace is not merely the absence of activity, but the presence of God's comfort, guidance, and love. You have come to understand that rest as worship is an intentional choice to trust in God's perfect plan, to cease from your own striving, and to surrender your need for control. This is the rhythm of divine life, and it is in this rhythm that you will find true fulfillment, joy, and peace. When you rest in God's peace, you are making a profound statement to the world. You are saying that you trust God more than your own efforts, that you believe in His timing over your own, and that you are willing to surrender your anxiety, your worry, and your need for achievement. In this surrender, you allow God to move in your life in ways that you could never orchestrate on your own. The peace you receive when you surrender to Him is not just a passive state, it is an active trust, a belief that God is in control and that His love will guide you every step of the way. The struggle to stop striving to surrender to God's peace is not an easy one. It requires vulnerability, trust, and a willingness to let go of the illusion of control. The world around you will continue to encourage you to hustle, to push, to achieve. But you, chosen one, have learned that God's peace is a far greater source of strength than striving ever could be. As you rest in Him, you will find that you are able to accomplish more with more clarity, purpose, and grace than you ever could in your own strength. One of the greatest gifts of embracing divine rest is the way it transforms your perspective on life. You begin to see life through the lens of God's timing, trusting that everything happens for a reason and that He is always at work behind the scenes. The pressures of the world of deadlines, expectations, and demands lose their grip on you as you rest in the knowledge that God is orchestrating all things for your good. This doesn't mean that life will be without challenges or difficulties, but it does mean that you will face them with a heart of peace, knowing that God's perfect plan will guide you through them. Rest also teaches you how to be fully present in each moment. In a world that constantly pulls you in 100 different directions, it can be difficult to stay grounded and focused on what matters most. But when you choose rest, you make space to focus on the present, to hear God's voice more clearly, and to engage fully with the people and experiences that are right in front of you. You no longer feel the need to rush or multitask, but instead you learn to give your full attention to what matters most. This presence, this attention to the moment, is one of the greatest gifts that rest brings. It frees you from the distractions that cloud your mind and allows you to be more present in your relationships, your work, and your spiritual walk. As you continue to surrender your striving and embrace God's peace, you will begin to notice that you are more in tune with your true calling. Rest is not a passive retreat from life. It is a powerful act of alignment with God's will. When you stop pushing forward on your own strength, you open yourself to His divine guidance. You begin to hear His voice more clearly, and you become more aware of the paths He is leading you down. This clarity and direction are gifts that come with rest, chosen one. As you embrace His peace, you begin to understand that rest is not just about taking a break from work, but about aligning yourself with the purpose He has designed for you. In these moments of stillness, you may also find that God reveals areas of your life where you need healing, growth, or change. Rest allows you to see your life more clearly without the fog of busyness clouding your vision. God's peace brings healing to your soul, restoring what was broken, mending what was torn, and renewing what was worn out. As you rest in Him, you give God the opportunity to work in your life in ways that only He can. His peace becomes the balm that soothes the pain of past hurts, the comfort that fills the empty places, and the strength that equips you to move forward with renewed hope. In a world that often demands more from you than you feel you can give, embracing rest is a radical act of faith. It is a declaration that you trust God's provision, His timing, and His plan for your life. You are saying, I believe that God will provide everything I need. I trust that His plan is better than anything I could do on my own, and I will rest in His love, knowing that He is working all things together for my good. This trust opens the door to the peace that surpasses all understanding, the peace that guards your heart and mind, and the peace that will guide you through every season of life. The most beautiful part of this journey, chosen one, is that as you embrace God's peace, you begin to reflect that peace in the world around you. When you rest in God, you become a vessel of His peace to others. You become a source of calm, encouragement, and love in the lives of those you encounter. Your peace doesn't just stay with you, it overflows into your relationships, your community, and your work. The more you embrace rest as worship, the more you become an agent of God's peace in a world that desperately needs it. Your peace is contagious, chosen one. It spreads to those around you, and it becomes a testimony to the world of the power of God's love. So, chosen one, I encourage you to continue to live in alignment with God's peace. Choose to rest each day, not just in moments of exhaustion, but as a regular practice of surrender. Make rest an integral part of your life, a worshipful surrender of your need to control, and a continual act of trust in God's timing. When you do this, you will find that your life becomes a reflection of His peace. You will live with greater clarity, greater purpose, and greater joy. Your heart will be filled with His love, and that love will flow through you, bringing peace to everyone you encounter. Rest chosen. One is the gift that God offers to you. It is the peace that guards your heart, the calm in the storm, and the steady anchor in the chaos. As you embrace it, you will experience the fullness of life that God has created for you, a life of peace, purpose, and divine alignment. Rest is worship. Surrender your striving and rest in the arms of God's love. It is in that rest that you will find your true strength, your true calling, and the peace that will carry you through every season of life.